Okay. Well, good morning,
Yes.
everyone. Um, what I have in mind for actually the next weeks, not just maybe longer, um, is to talk about something that Christina Feldman said in a talk that I, listened to, I think sent out a long time ago. And in the talk, just sort of in a random moment in the talk, she said that really our practice uh, has three components that are really all you need, she said. And those three were mindfulness, the Brahma Viharas, and the impermanent nature of self. Those were the three things that she said. And I would like to do those three things in terms of what we talk about, what we're discussing. Um, and the first thing I wanted to say about them is the Brahma Viharas, the translation. Vihara is a dwelling, a home. Um, and Brahma is like sort of the highest. Um, so sometimes they're called the divine abodes. Um, But the most important piece that in that name that gets left out is this vihara concept that each of these Brahma Viharas, which is, kindness and love and care, is metta, the befriending of everything that is, and then compassion, the the embodied awareness of the difficulty of being a living being, and joy, um, the absolute awe of being a living being, of experiencing life and sensory, you know, just wow. And then equanimity, um, which is being free from measuring everything, from judging everything, from preferring this over that, but rather that bringing that joy, that awe, and that metta, that befriending to everything that occurs. The instruction at its deepest level for the Brahma Viharas are are an indication of them as a place to dwell. They're not like you're dwelling here in whatever and you're raising an emotion. You know, metta is not the same thing as sadness, or happiness. Metta is a boundless and universal place to dwell. The same is true for the other abodes, the other divine abodes of compassion and joy and equanimity. They are all places to dwell. And what I wanted to sort of bring out in what Christina said, that she said that what we need to do in our practice is develop mindfulness, the Brahma Viharas, and an understanding of the impermanent nature of self. And I wanted to say that all of these are places to dwell. That mindfulness is not, here I am, separate, going about my day, and I'm going to um, practice mindfulness the way I might practice the violin. Mindfulness is a dwelling. It's a place to live. It's a way to live. It's a seat that you take in life. It simply, you know, answers the question, do you know what's going on right now? What's going on right now? What's happening in your body right now? Where are your feet? Where are your hands? What's the air like on your skin? What emotions are flowing? What thoughts are flowing? What sensory input is happening in this moment? What if you just dwelled there all the time? What if that was your life all day long? That, you know, that, I mean, granted, like in any normal sitting practice, there are moments when you get lost. You get lost in thought, you get lost in sound, emotion, whatever you got lost in. So even dwelling all the time in mindfulness doesn't mean there's no getting lost. It's not, you're not being asked to become something, um, at least not right away, become something not human. Um, but mindfulness is not something that, a person just practices. It's a way of life. The same with the Brahma Viharas. They're a way of life, a place to live. And perhaps the most difficult of those is making the awareness of the impermanent nature of self a place to dwell. Mm. That you live there all day long. You just, whatever's going on, you know that, as Rumi says, this being human is a guest house. You know that everything comes and goes. Thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, sensations in the body come and go, sense experience comes and goes. Everything comes and goes. And you can live like that, watching everything come and go with mindfulness, being aware of what's arising, being aware of what's present, being aware of what's beginning to fade away. And with each thing that arises, bringing metta, a friendship, a kindness, just experiencing every thought, every emotion, every sensation in the body, every sense experience, greeting it with affection and care. This is where the equanimity comes in. That if we are forced to measure everything we experience as good and bad, as I'll keep this, no, I'll get rid of this, then that's where we're dwelling. We're dwelling in this seat like, we're a judge on a high bench. Just watching everything go by and saying, you there, you go there, you stay, And if nothing else, it's exhausting and confusing because not everything presents as obvious what to do. when you're resting in metta, in a sense of benevolence to everything that arises, and a sense of equanimity that arises with that you're just resting in this place where everything's okay, then what was confusing, because it was unknown when you were in the seat of measurement, in the seat of loving, then the confusing and unknown is just awesome. Oh, cool. Wow, I haven't a clue what this is. You know, you have this amazing sensation in your body, and the first thing you want to do is give it language, name it, you know, what's it about? Um, oh, I'll tell a story about something that happened earlier this week. Um, I'm doing some, you know, pretty significant, we'll just call it inner work. And in the process, um, I got seized with this really, really gripping um, contraction in the muscles in the base of my neck and the base of my shoulders, right there. As though someone with a really big hand was grabbing the back of my neck and trying to move me around. And I had a phone call with a friend while that was happening, and I mentioned to her it was happening, and she began to say, oh, well, maybe you should get a massage. You know, she began to give me things to get rid of it. And I said, no, 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 why would I want to get rid of it? This is a visitor that is of incredible importance. I'm going to welcome it and accept it and sit a lot today and just be with it and see if it has something to say. And if it has nothing to say, that's fine. I'm just going to hold it with affection and care. And that's what I did. And it's a few days later. I have no idea what it was about, really. It still comes and goes a little bit, but mostly it's gone. Other things have taken its place to entertain me. And, you know, that is an example of something that is very difficult, quite unpleasant, if you measure it. When I welcomed it and didn't say, this is something, I didn't know what it was. I just accepted it, welcomed it, became a sanctuary for it. And frankly, it stopped being unpleasant. It just is. It's just sensation in the body that is vivid and strong and has a reason of its own that I'm not aware of. I don't know its purpose. I don't know its origin. I don't know its future. That's fine. It's a refugee. I will shelter it. I will nourish it. I will care for it. It can come and go at its leisure. It's not my job to fix it, to make it go away. Because it's part of the impermanent nature of self. Something arises, something pleasurable, something unpleasurable, something that appears significant, something that appears insignificant. It's the interplay of mindfulness as the foundation. Without mindfulness, you have no way to know what's going on. Without mindfulness, it's just pain. So maybe you take an Advil, you know, maybe you book a massage or you know, some kind of acupuncture, you know, all worthy things to do. Certainly things I would do if it had persisted. There was a time at a retreat when someone raised their hand during the question and answer and said, how do you know when pain is in the body is something to just rest with and observe and give shelter to, and when something is actually, you know, something you need to go to a doctor about? And whoever, I don't remember who was answering the questions that day, but the person said, if it persists after the sit, so you get up from the sit, you go walking, if at some point you get distracted by, I think he said, the smell of the cooking from the kitchen, and you notice that the bodily experience disappeared while you were busy being distracted by the smell of the kitchen, then you know it's what he would call dharma pain. It's just your body working things out. And if it keeps persisting, he said, then, you know, write a note for the office and tell them you need some physical help. So I've been both having fun and confused by this project, which is now, I think, taking me over a month so far, of sorting through 20 years of handouts and trying to reorganize them all. I keep thinking I'm done, and then I find another pile somewhere else. And I'm pretty far along, actually, in the sorting process. But of course, you know, how do you, like, I have a pile called Thich Nhat Hanh, but, you know, what if Thich Nhat Hanh's talking about the Anapanasati Sutta? Shouldn't that go in the Anapanasati Sutta pile? Or should it go in the Thich Nhat Hanh pile? And on and on and on. I'm having a ball. But one of the things that has been true for the last couple of weeks is I'll get very excited by something I found and what it stimulates in me, and then I want to read it to you, and then I read it to myself beforehand, and I go, that's not what I would say now. You know, I maybe wrote this however many years ago. And then I have decided that for the most part, I'm going to leave things as I wrote them, and see what happens. So this is a sheet of paper called The 7 Factors of Awakening, which is buried inside the Anapanasati Sutta, and is in a sense, our destination over the next months. And the first of the 7 factors of awakening just happens to be my topic, which is mindfulness. So this is what's written here. It says, listening, paying attention, and being present with the emotion or behavior exactly as it is, honestly, in a non-judgmental way. Mindfulness develops, links, and balances the other factors. The mind is like a clear mirror, clinging to nothing, rejecting nothing, seeing each moment clearly without bias. Well, I can only guess what I meant at the time, but this is how I read it now. So mindfulness. So I wrote listening. I think now I would want to point out that um, knowing the activity at the sense doors, knowing what your senses are experiencing in every moment. This is our goal, to know what the senses are experiencing. What's being seen? What's being heard? What's being felt in the body? What does your cognition know about what's being thought? All of the senses. So here I just wrote listening, but knowing the activity of the senses. Paying attention. So attention is when you focus awareness on a particular something going on. So the paying attention, the mindfulness, being mindful of what's happening with the senses, and focusing on either the interplay of everything happening without, you know, narrowing down to one particular thing, or maybe like in the example of the tightness in the neck. Maybe the choice is to narrow attention and really dwell knowing the experience of tightness. And being present has non-interference at its core. Not to interfere, not to try to get something to be something else, but to know what it actually is. It says exactly as it is, honestly, in a non-judgmental way. And I would say, I mean, judgment is such a vivid experience for all of us. But I've been using for the last however long the word measurement. Because when we judge something, we judge by measuring. How good is this? How bad is this? How important is this? How unimportant is this? How intimate is this? How out there is this? You know, how much, can I tolerate this? How much can I not? How much do I want this to be with me? We're measuring. All the time we're measuring. And so sometimes I think it would be incredibly valuable to notice the measuring by putting a little focus on what is it we're measuring. There's a scale that we measure everything. How far am I from it? How central is this to my life? How current is this? You know, always measuring, and we have ways of measuring things. We have a memory of something that happened in the past, and we measure its impact, how that event in the past has impacted our lives. We measure. I have no objection to measurement. We need it in order to live. But what is important for us to know is that measurement is an action that takes place by moving away from our direct experience of whatever it is that we're measuring. And once we begin measuring, our intimacy with the actual experience becomes less. And as the intimacy becomes less, our real knowing of it becomes less. So I'm measuring, aren't I? It's hard to get away from. But the practice that we want to develop is to focus and be aware of what is taking place at the senses. We want to bring our attention to anything that's arising that we feel is worthy of being focused on. And we want to be present with whatever that phenomena is, exactly as it is, without moving away into judgment, into measurement, into an analysis, into a figuring out, into an understanding. If there is some aspect of your life, a pattern, a habit pattern that you've had for a very long time, and you for a very long time have wished that you had more of that habit, or you've wished you had less of that habit, and you've come up with, 6,742 different strategies over the course of previous decades in order to accomplish having more of or having less of that habit. The real strategy is mindfulness, free of measurement, free of analysis and understanding, free of explaining, and especially free of getting it entangled with this, but it's all about me. This habit is all about me. How could it not be about me? It's been coming up for decades, over and over and over again. This habit always keeps coming up. It must be me. In fact, it's the core of who I am. It's a visitor. Whatever habit you think of, it comes and goes. It's not permanent. It's not in your present experience every moment of your life. There's nothing that is in your present experience every moment of your life. It comes and goes. It's inconstant. Don't get so entangled with it. Instead, use mindfulness. Notice the arising of the habit. Rest in the experience of the habit without wishing it would be or wishing it would go. Leave it be itself. Release it from the desire to fix it, to make it better. Just rest in it as it actually is. It says here, the mind is like a clear mirror, clinging to nothing, rejecting nothing, seeing each moment clearly. Just resting with it, benevolently, being a sanctuary for that habit. Hello, my little habit energy, Thich Nhat Hanh says. Come sit on my knee. I welcome you, but you are not me. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh said long ago and repeated many, many times. Mindfulness, mindfulness is not something, to grab off the shelf and use and then put away. Mindfulness is a living place to dwell, a home, a refuge, a place to really create a foundation for a life. Always being mindful, resting in the awareness of what is actually happening in your sense stores at this moment. What is it that's being thought? What is it that's being seen? What sensations in the body are present? What are the emotions that are arising in experience? What is this? Just resting in that mindfulness, moving the attention to whatever it is that seems worthy of attention without going into language, freed from language, just mindful of the sensory experience as it actually is. So let's practice this.